Today, is a very good message for President Ruto from Kenya. It's good for African to wake up. African Union didn't forming for to help Africa because African is still suffering today. Have so many issues for different place to different countries, different all around Africa. Nothing African Union do about it. I doesn't know why most people think about African Union. African Union was something forming by European, and he only guiding European interests. He doesn't guiding African interests. So it's good for all the leaders in Africa, like President Ruto to come out with give that message, because when all the presidents in Africa keep silence, like the one happening in Tanzania, how many people die? The African Union after today, they didn't say nothing about it. What's happening in South Sudan? African Union doesn't talk about it. They silence these people with money. So it becoming to look, they only work for their own interests, not for African interests. So why are they calling African Union? It's better people change, go to EAU, because that's going to be coming out for really the place will defend African unity. Because African Union been there for long decade. They don't do anything. When you look today to see what's happening all around Africa, the African Union are there. They never take a step to that. They never take any step what they want to do. What can it do? Soon the money in fall, everybody in the African Union will be silenced. Nobody will talk. And let the African today been suffering to generation with generation going. So I don't know the reason why people keep thinking about African Union, because this was a colonial British, and it was forming, not defending Africa. Okay. So this is the time for people supposed to wake up. For all Africa need to wake up, look on in the detail for African Union. A lot of detail are there from African Union doesn't supporting Africa. Doesn't and stand out with what's happening in all around Africa. Our people die every single day. The president will stay in the power for over 40 to 50 years. When the time for election come, he will kill a lot of people because he don't want to get out in the power. And African Union is still there. IGAD is still there. Nobody talk about it. So they should change that name African Union, because they don't defend Africa. Because these all people coming in the power in Africa, they already paid the African Union to stand out with them and keep used to die every day. And they stay there calling African Union. And that name was forming by European, just to make all Africa happy, because they will think this was forming to guide them, African rule. Now, They was forming that Puto African Union because to let get that name to remaining there, to make Africa to think say they have a African Union will stand up for them for all the problems that is happening in Africa. But it's not. He was forming by European. He will remaining because that name they put to the African is just the name. But these people was forming by European. They go by what the Europeans say. Because European today, they still want to be corruption in Africa. They want our leader to continue to be in the corruption so they can stealing from Africa. So that's a problem. We should not focus on African Union. We should not think about something they call African Union. Because when we look on what they do is so many people there die in Africa today. When the time of election, while it's not time of election, everybody die every single day in Africa. It's not human right in Africa. So, what the African Union exactly, what they are guiding in Africa? This is my question. Because I don't understand what they are guiding in Africa, what they protect in Africa. It's not unity. It's not human right. What they protected. And what they solve, seen anything today when happen in Africa, around Africa, what the African Union is stand up to solve? Nothing. So people are supposed to forget about the African Union issue. Because sometimes for me, I don't understand everything going to Africa. It's bothering me. And things happening in Africa, we don't understand. And they keep calling African Union will protecting innocent people die in Africa every day by our leaders. And these leaders, they live in the blood of human. And they protect themselves and their leaders. Like the president of South Sudan today. Look at what kind of mess the president of South Sudan is doing. African Union never come involved in. They never talk about what's going in South Sudan. Never. They let Salva Kiir been there for a long time and killing innocent people every single day. Nobody talking about. I think it's the time for Africa to stand up. Deny the African Union. Because we can survive with no African Union the same way we've been survived today. What's the reason for African Union? I'm sure it's not someone today will come say African Union, that's the way they did in Africa. Was the country they save or the Christ while killing and while president keeping stealing an election, stay in the power, killing people, innocent people go to jail. Is there anyone today will come there and say African Union, they save this? One day, this is a country, African Union is stand up and save these youth, save all these people living in that city. Well, for that country. African Union never do. Since I was born. Since I was born, I never heard any history. I am going to be 50 years something. I never heard about African Union save any issue or solve any issue in Africa. Mean African Union didn't forming to protect Africa while guiding Africa. They were forming by European because for the interest of European, how European can find the access to go to Africa. and collect this stealing from Africa and build their country with it, and abusing Africa in their own country. That's where African Union was formed to do. Because African Union was forming by European to be the key and to be the door for them to go to Africa, to come to Africa. And then with all the leaders, the corruption leader in Africa, they go through African Union, pay them money, silence them. They cannot talk. They cannot do anything about what's happening in Africa. What are they calling that? Is it crazy? But we Africa, we need to unite. We need to think twice. So many things going now wrong. Most in Africa doesn't think. We choose to hate our brothers. We choose to hate ourselves. We choose not united. Only one key will make Africa to unite, to see everything what is happening in Africa. Because when we unite today, Africa will change. We can look for some countries out there today in Africa. I use they are united. This crop doesn't go there. People cry now about Burkina Faso because they know what's going in Burkina Faso. That's why we support to stand up together. That's why we want Africa to become. But when we need not stop hatred, nothing will change to our country or change to Africa. There's no reason for hatred. We should show love and peace and unity. This will direct to us. God doesn't speak through us because we choose hate and peace. We choose hate for love more than love. Love is the unity. And we need to stop that. Say, I come from different, this way I come from Congo, this way I come from Brazil, this way I come from Tanzania, this way I come from Rwanda. We are still Africa. When we coming to know, to our son say, we all Africa. It doesn't matter what city you come from, what country you're coming from, we're becoming one. Because we are all Africa the same color. Why we keep thinking about dividing ourselves? That's a useless mentality. This 2026, I wish African can unite. African can wake up from their dream. See, look what's going around in them. Because what all go around Africa is the wrong direction. Because they don't listen to themselves. They don't think what they're supposed to do. They don't think what's the future of Africa. The future of Africa brings the unity. When we unite, when we show love, we stop dividing ourselves. We need to encourage our brothers. All decade or no decade, we still all one Africa. We need encouragement. When we come in unity, the God will direct to us. That's all my small message in this evening. Thank you, guys.